Welcome to the Worship Probs podcast, where we aim to entertain, encourage, and equip worship and tech leaders all around the world. Look, we all know that serving in worship and production is great, but the problems, those are real. Thanks for joining us as we dive into today's episode with our host, Brian Tabor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 348 of the Worship Probs podcast. I'm so glad you're here today. I am pumped times 10 for this one. It's going to be a great day, a great episode. We're going to hit those 3 E's: entertain, encourage, and equip. We want to hit those every single week. And we're just thrilled that you're here. We're thrilled that you stopped by to spend a little time with your Worship Probs fam today. If you do me a favor, jump over to Apple Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating and a really nice review. That's a huge help to us. Well, today is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to share some prayer concerns with you and some other stuff along the way. And I want to tell you, I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome a new sponsor to the Worship Probs family this week, DC Pro LVA. And today I'm talking with the founder and the owner, Daniel Connell. Daniel spent part of his career as a lighting designer, working with every Christian artist you can possibly name, major tours constantly. And then he spent several years at a very well-known church that I'm going to let him tell you about. But more than his resume and all the stuff he's done in his career, which is incredibly impressive, I can promise you, his heart for the Lord and his heart for the local church is going to speak very loudly to you on today's episode. And in 2012, Daniel Connell founded DC Pro LVA, a full production house supplying lighting, video, and audio products, rentals, and design services for clients, including many churches across North America. We are thrilled to welcome them to the Worship Probs family. And if you're in need of an upgrade, or maybe you're building a new building at your church or your company, or maybe you're just jumping into a renovation of your space, contact DC Pro through the link in our bio. They will do a phenomenal job, and I cannot wait for you to hear from Daniel Connell on today's episode. So thank you for tuning in, and welcome to the family at DC Pro LVA. So as we're jumping in here, I want to tell you about another unbelievable company, Planning Center. This episode of the Worship Probs podcast is brought to you by Planning Center, an all-in-one software that can help you organize every facet of your ministry, connect with your people, and help your people stay connected to each other. Among the many ways Planning Center can help you do that is through task management. In Planning Center, you can create detailed tasks, organize to-do lists, and even collaborate on those tasks with other team members in real time. Do you have recurring events and projects with long to-do lists? Make a task list template to save time. Have regular tasks you need help keeping up with? Set your tasks to automatically repeat at an interval of your choosing. And the best part is that you can create tasks from absolutely anywhere in Planning Center using the toolbar. You'll find your Tasks tab in Planning Center Home, the place you see all the important updates happening across your account. To learn more and get started today, visit planningcenter.com or click the link in our bio. Well, guys, it's, summer is ticking along here. And before you know it, we'll all be at Disney World in Orlando for Experience Conference 25. Cannot wait. Last week, we told you about the pre-conference audio intensive led by the GOAT himself, Big Genji Jeremy Van Valkenburg. And I'm thrilled to tell you, as we did last week, that audio intensive is brought to you by DC Pro LVA, our new sponsors here. So I do hope you will join us. And if you're an audiophile, man, you got to join Genji for that pre-conference audio intensive. It's going to be outstanding. And then join us for the conference. Use the discount code PROBS25. PROBS25. It'll save you some money. And as the conference gets closer, the price goes up. There are price increases coming. So that's going to be very, very important to you. PROBS25 is the discount code. And check out the website. You can find the link in our bio. Gosh, it would be almost easier for me to tell you the names of artists and speakers that aren't going to be there this year because it's the 15th anniversary. They're rolling out all the stops. We're back. We're recording an episode of the Worship Probs podcast live. It'll be me, it'll be Big Genji, and it'll be the big Arrivederci, Pastor Scott Longyear. All three of us on the live podcast, live from Experience. And that's a home game for us, man. Experience Conference is kind of where the live concept was born in terms of our podcast. And so we can't wait to be back. I'm going to be teaching a workshop as well on building sets that unlock engagement through the AW scale. If you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, you know what the AW scale is and what kind of an important metric we believe that to be as we're planning services for our congregations. And so I'll be teaching that. Scott's going to be teaching a bunch. Jeremy's going to be teaching a bunch. And there are over 90 workshops for every discipline on your team. So there's still time, especially if you live in the Southeast and you're kind of in driving distance. Man, grab a registration through the link in our bio. Use that code PROBS25, and we hope to see you at Experience Conference 25, September 2nd through the 5th, Disney's Coronado Springs Resort in beautiful Orlando. So, we do this every week, and I love it. I love being with you guys. I love, the time we share together. And one of the things I love the most is Prayer Concerns. Prayer Concerns is brought to you by DC Pro LVA. They specialize in transforming worship experiences with professional lighting, video, and audio solutions tailored for churches. Their team understands the unique production needs of churches and delivers cutting-edge equipment and personalized service to enhance services, events, and special gatherings. From vibrant LED walls and crystal clear audio systems to dramatic lighting designs, DC Pro LVA provides reliable, volunteer-friendly solutions that amplify your message and create a welcoming atmosphere for your congregation. Choose DC Pro LVA to elevate your church's worship environment with seamless production support. Their thorough design approach and dedicated team ensure your services run smoothly, engaging worshipers and fostering connection. Visit dcprolva.com or find them through the link in our bio to explore how their customized solutions can equip and empower your team, making every moment of worship unforgettable. Partner with DC Pro LVA today to create a powerful and inspiring experience for your church. So Prayer Concerns, if you're new to the podcast, our congregations, sometimes they like to give us a little savage feedback, just a little clap back on what they thought of the service. And sometimes they didn't really care for it, and they like to tell you, and it might get personal. Sometimes it could be your clothing, the way your voice sounds. It could be the color of your hair or your nail polish, or the songs you picked, or the lighting, or the volume, or all manner of elements. And so we share these every week on the podcast. We'll never share your name or your church's name. So please go to our website, worshipleaderprobs.com, click on the Prayer Concerns tab and submit yours there. You can also DM these to us on any of the socials. We share these every week just in hopes that it'll make you take a breath. It'll make you laugh. We need to laugh. Life is very, very serious. We need to laugh. It'll make you take a breath and laugh. and just remind you that you are not alone. So send yours in to us. We'd love to share those anonymously on a future episode of the Worship Probs podcast. So let's dive right in. Prayer concern number 1. During a recent weekend, we were a little short-staffed on the platform. We got this comment that said, "Praise the Lord. Thank you for no drums." Not a fan. Not a fan. Maybe, drums are, it's like a foundational kind of thing, man. I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan. Well, maybe they're not miking them right, or who knows? Maybe it's just a little loud for somebody. Who knows? I love drums, love drummers, all that good stuff. So, number 2, prayer concern number 2. All this one says is, we can tell you're trying really hard. There's just sort of a veiled disappointment in that one. They can tell you're trying really hard. Implication is you are not getting there. Not getting there. All right, number 3, prayer concern. Number 3, got this. This was somebody who got a handwritten letter in the mail, snail mail, not email. And it says, "Dear," and it says their name, "I have been a member of this church for a few years now. Every Sunday, I have woke up excited to come to church and enjoy the fellowship, worship, and the gospel. Since you have joined the worship team, I cannot bring myself to come to service anymore. Is there any way you could please stop the circus barking that you do when you sing? If the words to the song are on the screen for us to read, why do you have to blurt out the first line before you sing it? It's almost as if you feel the congregation cannot read." And then it's signed, "Sincerely." Circus barking. We do get this a version of this prayer concern often. I don't know that I've ever heard it called circus barking. That's not a compliment. That's kind of a bad deal. I think my hat's crooked. Just working on it a little bit for you. Oh my gosh, circus barking. Okay, number 4, prayer concern number 4. Literally got handed a note last night after an acoustic prayer service that compared my guitar playing to something out of a pagan ritual. You gotta admire the creativity. Like, I don't know what you were doing. I don't really even know that much about pagan rituals to know how acoustic guitar playing would relate. I don't know a lot. I don't know a lot about anything, but that doesn't sound like a compliment. But that's a long way to go to say you were not happy with the acoustic playing, right? Okay, here's the last one, the bottom of the pudding cup, prayer concern number 5. And it just says, "You don't play acoustic guitar, so you aren't a real worship leader." Have you ever felt like that? Like, I've always wanted to play acoustic guitar, but as a keyboardist, the whole like turning my left hand over and contorting it to make all those chord. I've tried. I own a guitar. I took lessons on guitar. I just cannot play the guitar. And I always wanted to play guitar. And there are moments where I felt like maybe I wasn't a real worship leader because I didn't play acoustic guitar. So if you've ever felt that way, you're in good company. You're in good company. So fam, those are prayer concerns. Send yours in to us. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what's going on in your church. If you've ever gotten a savage comment, or maybe you've gotten a ridiculous decline, like somebody declines to serve for a really funny reason, send those to us. We use those as prayer concerns. We use unusual song requests. Like if you've ever gotten my personal unusual song request is "The Circle of Life" from the movie The Lion King. Not sure how that would ever fit into a worship service, a Christian worship service at least. So any of those, send those in to us. You can DM them to us on the socials, or jump over to worshipleaderprobs.com and click on the prayer concerns tab and submit yours anonymously there. Well, I told you earlier, we're thrilled to welcome a new sponsor to our world here, DC Pro LVA. And their owner is literally one of the most interesting men in the world. has had a fascinating career, absolutely loves Jesus, and his company is making a huge impact for the kingdom. So let's jump into my conversation with Daniel Connell. Today's conversation is brought to you by New Life Ministries. Since 1988, New Life Ministries has been a trusted source of hope and healing, offering Christ-centered resources to people in life's most difficult places. If you've ever felt anxious, burned out, overwhelmed by ministry, or struggled with addiction, grief, depression, or trauma, New Life is here for you. They equip leaders like you with biblically based counseling, powerful workshops, online courses, and a nationwide network of Christian therapists. Whether you're walking through something yourself or want to better care for those you lead, New Life has real help for every season. Click the link in our bio to explore the tools, support, and life-changing guidance that can bring lasting freedom and healing. New Life Ministries, transforming lives with God's truth and grace. The Worship Probs podcast is thrilled to have Mr. Daniel Connell with us today. Daniel, welcome to the podcast.
Man, thanks so much for having me. This is exciting. I get to talk to a lot of production guys, but I think, and I know there's some listening to this, but I think this is the first time I've really gotten to present or talk in front of people who are mainly on the worship leading side of it. So that's an honor. I appreciate it.
Well, we're glad to have you. How's your summer been so far?
Hot, wet, I'm sure everyone's experiencing this. It seems like the news of the week is everywhere flooding. And, it has very much been that out here in Tulsa, just wet, which my field loves it. Our hay crop's going to be amazing this fall. But yeah, it is a wet, damp summer. How about you?
Yes, it is. Well, so Daniel, we like to have a little bit of fun. So welcome to the hot seat. So I've got 5 rapid fire questions for you, just to help us get to know you a little bit. Yeah. Okay, number 1, burger or salad? What do you pick?
Burger. All day long. Salads are what my food eats.
Okay, number 2. What's the last song you played on your phone?
Oh gosh, driving into work this morning. Actually, I've become a big Alex Warren fan lately, which he's I don't know what you qualify him as, pop artist. He had a song, I want to say it's called Burn It Down or something, but I don't think he's a worship singer, but man, he ought to be, because you can just hear the drama or like the emotion in his music. So I think that's the last thing I listened to on the way to work this morning.
Love it. I need to check that out. Okay. Number 3, if you were going to pick a superpower, what would you choose?
Oh man, I feel like I've been asked this before and I never know what to pick. It'd be flying or invisibility. I feel like
that's a couple.
That's probably like I would say that's like the yin and the yang of me. The flying person, I feel like I could do a lot of good thing for the people. Invisibility, I could do whatever I wanted.
I love it. Okay, number 4. Do you have a favorite comfort food?
Oh man, I know I do. I have, as I get older in life, I try and not have comfort foods. But yes, actually, there it is. My wife makes these chicken enchiladas that are to die for. And now that I'm thinking about it, she hasn't in about a year. So either I've messed up or something, but I know what I'm going to call it.
Hopefully she's listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, number 5. Is there a little known fact about you that people might find hard to believe?
Oh, man. I got started in all this on the other side of this, on the stage side. And I cannot sing a note, but I'm actually a great dancer, or at least I was decades ago when I did that. But somewhere there are pictures of me in show choir. And I had the agreement with the director that I could just mouth the words. I didn't have to sing them, but she needed me as a dancer. So
there you go. We're breaking some news here today. Daniel Connell is a dancer. I love that.
So it was a dancer. Photos. Yeah.
We'll have to look for those pics. Okay, well, you survived the hot seat, crushed it. Well, we're really excited to have you on today, and we are, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. We are so honored to welcome DC Pro LVA as a new sponsor for Worship Probs and the Worship Probs podcast. So welcome to the family.
No, thanks so much, man. I've heard about you guys for years. Jeremy Van Valkenburg, which I think all your people are very familiar with, is such a close friend, and he's told me for years we need to be a part of this, and I finally listened to his wisdom. So
I love it. Well, we're thrilled to have you, and you have led and continue to lead an incredible life professionally. Can you tell us a bit about like what happened between the dancing years and the integration years?
Wow, how much time do we have? Yeah, no, that's a great way to set that up. I'll try and give you the high level kind of quick version, but so the dancing years, you kind of have to understand a little bit about the start of my life to go all the way that far back. Grew up, my father, best man in the world, terrific guy. Just talked with him last night on the phone. But I grew up with him in Alabama, in a city called Huntsville, Alabama. And my dad was a police officer. And, you can imagine public servant like that made a good living, but not a great one. So he was able to provide well for us, but it was just enough to where we lived in a good neighborhood surrounded by not so great area of town. And, my dad, being a police officer, was very familiar with schools and what was good around there and what wasn't. And unfortunately, the middle school that my sister and I were going to have to go to was not where he really wanted us to go. And, this was not at a time where we could consider private school or anything of that nature. Yeah. But my older sister, is very artistic. To this day. She's very artistic visually. And she got accepted to a special magnet arts school in Huntsville. It's a public school, but it's magnet arts school. And because I was a sibling, they didn't want to split families. So I automatically got accepted. So suddenly in 5th grade, having not an artistic bone in my body, I'm now attending this arts-focused school. So they tried me at everything through 5th grade. And like I told earlier, that we found out I can dance a little bit, but nothing else stuck. So when 6th grade comes around, every kid is required to participate in the school play, and it's a musical. And that year it was Cinderella. And I remember it like it was yesterday. The drama teacher was going around handing out parts to everyone, and we were just all in there in a circle together. Her name was Deborah Fleischman. And she comes around to me, and she says it almost apologetically. She says, "Daniel, I don't have another spot for you, so I'm going to have you run the lights for the show." I went, "Oh, well, that sounds interesting." And literally that lighting console, which I touched so for any of the production guys listening, it was a 18-channel, 2-scene analog Kliegel console. I guarantee nobody listening knows exactly what that is. But fast forward a little bit, just a few years ago, they tore that theater down, and she actually gifted me that console. So it's sitting in a room right over here. So I suddenly found my niche when I did that. And it just made sense. The technical side of what we do, it clicked. I understood it. And it became home, for me, because I honestly did not feel like I had a place in this art school because that was not my gifting. Fast forward through all that, she kept me focused on that through middle school. She handed me off to a magnet school for high school where the same thing happened. By 9th grade, I'm running the theater program there. Got my first paying job was running lights for a DJ when I was 14 years old. Wow. My second one was I got hired by a company very similar to ours now when I was 15 to sweep floors and empty trash cans. Not too long after that, I became a show tech for them. Through high school, I was doing shows, around the Southeast area during the summers, and did my brief stint at college right after high school. Very quickly learned that was not what I was meant for. So switched and started a touring career. Toured out of Nashville. I guarantee there are people listening to this right now that attended shows during that time. My real client base through that was a lot of contemporary Christian artists. So from 2000 to 2004, if you saw a Third Day show, I was there, as their production designer, lighting designer for the show. I did a lot of Stephen Curtis Chapman shows, Michael W. Smith, Point of Grace, Jackie Velasquez. Golly, could keep going and going. Switchfoot was actually kind of the final band I toured with. So again, if you saw a Switchfoot show from 05 to 06, chances are that was, I was at that one. And so that spanned about 10 years of my career. The first 10 years was touring. Started when I was 18 and wrapped it up when I was about 28. Wrapping it up, I don't care what type of groups you're touring with. that life is hard. That constant travel and everything. And I want to emphasize that a little bit because I know there's one of the things. I'm gonna go off on a tangent here for just a minute, and I'll come back. But I encounter a lot of church production guys now who have this dream of going out on the road. And nothing I ever tell them or nothing I say here is meant to be to discourage that. But you have to know what you're getting into. I look at that as that should be a season, not a career. It's hard to have a balance in your family life. It's hard to have balance in any of your just personal life. I could probably go on for this whole podcast just about that, but I'll stop there. But around I was 28, and I wanted to settle down. I wanted a wife. I wanted to start a family. I just wanted some normalcy in my life because living on a tour bus for 10 years doesn't allow you any of that. Wow. I'm very thankful for that season of my life because it really set up the foundation of my career and what I do now. But it was hard. Now, this would have been 2006. Towards the end of 2006, I was still out on tour with Switchfoot. And I got a call from a very close friend of mine that I had been on tour with Third Day with for such a long time. And his name, a lot of people listening will know, is Andrew Stone. And side thing, but yes, we lost him 6 years ago last week. Was that? So I know a lot of people listening are familiar with his stuff from a lot of the teaching he did and everything. So he was my best friend for 20 years, but he called me fall of 2006. And I had heard he had ended up at some church out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, because we quit working with Third Day together in 2004, and he did a few things, and I went and did some other things. We did a couple of things together, but not much. And I'd heard this rumor. Now I want to preface this because I don't want anyone to misunderstand this. Church production was not looked at highly by the industry in 2006. Yeah. For any of us that were around then, it wasn't what it is now. Some churches were doing some things really well. Willow Creek out of Chicago, Fellowship Church in Dallas. We're starting to really look at this tool of production and go, how can we use this to communicate the gospel? And they were starting to explore that. But predominantly, that wasn't it. If you were a big enough church, you'd have some video screens. You'd have decent speakers so you could hear well. And that was about it. Maybe if you really wanted to get wild, you got 6 moving lights. And we're starting to maybe we don't move them, but maybe we spin the gobos on the choruses, and that's pushing the envelope. Yeah. So Andrew was a world-class audio engineer, production manager, tour manager. So that the fact that he had ended up at this church out in Tulsa, it honestly was a little confusing to me. So he calls me. We just catch up for a few minutes, and he says, "Well, hey man, I don't know if you've heard, but I'm working at this church in Tulsa now." And I was like, "Yeah, I heard." And he goes, "Hold your judgment for a minute. If I'm there, it must be something cool." I went, "Okay, valid." He said, "We need someone to design our Christmas show for us. Would you be interested in coming out and doing it?" I didn't have anything going on for Christmas. We ended our Switchfoot tour in November. We didn't start back until February. I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I say this with zero pride. In fact, I say it with a degree of shame. Inside, I was thinking, cool, I'm going to go out to Tulsa. I'm going to get paid to hang out with an old buddy for a couple weeks. I'll just wiggle some lights around and blow these church people's mind. Now, context here, I grew up going to a Methodist church with my grandmother. I'm so thankful for that church because it put the seed of Christ in my heart, of the understanding of that. There was also a large segment of my life I was not living as a Christian, as I should be. If you ask me if I believed in Christ, absolutely. Was I showing that through my life? I was not. And I'll include this season. I was not to the degree that I needed to be. I was not, yeah. Anyway, so I get invited, and I'll be honest, I'm referencing that because I didn't have the proper perspective on church and church production at the time. So I'm thinking I'm going to come out, I'm going to wiggle some lights, and then I'm going to go back on tour. Well, I got out there, and I met, this was Church on the Move. And I met Willie George, and I met Whit George, and I already knew Andy Christma a little bit, not well, but we had done, I'd done some for him shows previously. But as I worked with him over those 2 weeks, this thing started to show. And it was this passion for excellence of what they were doing. I had never worked with a group that found what they were doing so important and so serious that they put so much emphasis on making sure it was done right. Yeah. And that started speaking to me. And at the end of those 2 weeks, I hadn't really made that switch yet in my head of like, maybe this is something I need to do. But I was getting ready to leave. It was my last day there, and I ran past Whit George, who's now the executive pastor of Church on the Move, in the hallway. And I just said, "Hey, Whit, thanks for having me out. I had a wonderful time." And he goes, "Man, we really enjoyed you being here. You ought to come work with us full time." I took it as a joke.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, "Oh, thanks." And I kind of laughed. And again, I say this with no pride, but what was kind of going in my heart at the time was the thought of, no, I'm a touring production designer. I'm not going to work at a church. And that pride kind of blocked the way. I was living just south of Nashville at the time, and I went back home. And the Holy Spirit would not let go of me about that. And for a week, that's all I could think about. And so towards the end of that week, I called Andrew and I went, "Hey, my last day there, Whit offered me a job. Was he serious?" And he goes, "I don't know. I'll go find out." "Are you serious?" I was like, "I think I am."
Wow.
So that day, I got hired at Church on the Move and started there full time in May of 2007. I know a lot of people listening are probably familiar with what we did with seeds and all that through that time. But I always want to say that's not what I walked into at all. What I walked into was 8-foot fluorescent lights for house lights. Old school 1,000 watt park hands hung over the aisles to be aisle lights, so that at least during worship we could turn the fluorescence off. They owned 4 moving lights, VL 1000s for any of my lighting guys out there listening, and a Hog 1000 console. There was nothing impressive about this, and for 2 or 3 years, we were not, blessed with huge resources. We weren't what everyone kind of sees as that what Church on the Move became. It wasn't there. It took us 2 or 3 years to kind of figure that out. Follow the leading of where Whit and Pastor George felt the Holy Spirit was leading them to use production, and it wasn't until about 2010 that we started to see what people see now. And the part of that was a big remodel we did there that gave us more capabilities. It changed the room to where it worked better with production. But, the point I want to emphasize there is we spent 2 or 3 years building up trust with Pastor George before that remodel, so that when that time came, it wasn't just that we were allowed to have a voice in that, we were listened to. So I feel like I've been talking for half an hour now. But that's the path from dancing Daniel to, oh, you know what? No. Worked there until 2015. 2015, I went back freelance for a few years. And during that time, again, a lot of people may have been at some of the events we were doing. Did a lot of the Bethel Heaven Come conferences during that time. Church of the Highlands Motion conferences and some of their live album recordings. My background is on the visual side. So, did the lighting design for some of the Passion conferences, along with working with Ed White, if anybody's familiar with him. But did that for a few years, and then noticed that my personal quality level was dropping. So I'm coming up on my early 40s, and I'm watching the quality of what I do decrease. For any other guys out there that are kind of have been through the early 40s part or are approaching it, that's not the time in your life where you want to feel that. That's the time in your life when you want to feel like you're at the top of your game. So that shook me a little bit, that I was not able to, I didn't feel like I was putting out the same quality as I had just a few years ago. I thought about it and I prayed about it, and I realized it was this. When I was at Church on the Move, I had a team, and every event was done with that same team. And we were able to build on the capital gains from those previous events of every time you do something, you learn a new method, you refine a process. And so over time, as a team, we continued to gotten better and better and better. When I went back out freelance, I was back to being an individual. We'd have a team on each show, or each event, but then it's a new team the next time around. And that hit me. And again, I prayed about it and I thought about it. And, as a production designer that wants to stay focused on this market, wants to do things that are going to help serve the kingdom, there's not really a business model there that will allow you to hire a team. You can have a very good living, but you're not going to hire a team. And at that time, I was getting hired by a lot of other integration companies and design companies to work on projects for them. And I went, well, they have a team. I want a team. That is literally what started DC Pro.
Wow.
I wanted a team again.
Wow.
Now I have the best one.
That's incredible, man. What an impact. And as somebody who attended the Seeds conference at Church on the Move, and probably many of the other events that you were doing lighting for, just thank you for how you found a way to use the creative side that God gave you and wired you for, and use it to enhance worship, and all of that leads to people connecting with Christ on a deeper level. So thank you
Well,
for doing. I will never forget sitting at Seeds conference, and the year I was there, you guys, you had a scrim over the stage, and all of a sudden we started to see these scrolling names, and it was the
2014.
names of the churches that were attending, and how the staff and the whole team at Seeds had been praying for us in anticipation of us coming to the conference. And I was bawling my eyes out, man. It was so powerful.
Well, it's honoring to hear that from you, but don't thank me. And here's why I want to say that. And this isn't just me trying to be humble. I share what I shared about my transition in Church on the Move because I do think that's there's a really lesson in there that I try and share with a lot of young production guys. I didn't go in with necessarily the right heart to that. And even when Seed started, the way Seed started is Whit set all of the creative and production team down at a table, which the production team, then it was me and Andrew. We had other guys with us, but we were the leaders of the production team. Yeah. So we were at that meeting representing production. And then Andy Chrisman and Marcos was there for worship, and other people in the creative team were all there. And he was going around with this. He'd had this idea of Seeds and what it would be. And yes, there were the Seeds conferences, but Seeds was actually a whole program where we put out blogs. And the heart of it and why it was called Seeds is that he and his dad, Willie George, felt that Church on the Move had really been blessed with this unique pool of talent. When you had Andy Chrisman, who was a Grammy Award-winning, CCM artist. Yeah. Andrew Stone, world-renowned audio engineer. I was not nearly on their level, but I did come in with a lot more experience than a church would normally have in a production designer and lighting designer position. And he felt that wasn't just for us, that needed to be given away. And then we needed to plant that into other churches to help, grow those ministries as well, hence Seeds. And so he's going around the table saying, okay, graphic guys, you're going to give away all of our Illustrator files, all of our, different video files that we're going to use, all of our bumpers and things that are lower thirds. We're going to put on the website and we're going to give it away to churches so they can manipulate it and use it for them. Worship team, you're going to do your, the scores, or I don't know, I'm not a musician, whatever things are that you guys do. You're going to give away that stuff. And then he came around to me and Andrew and he goes, guys, there's not really anything physical that production can give away. So you're going to give away your knowledge and you're going to share with people how to do what we do. Again, I say this with kind of shame. Andrew and I went back to our office area after that meeting, and the conversation was based around he and I both saying, who does Whit think he is? That is our knowledge. We brought that here with us. That's not his to give away. Because the production world we came out of, you didn't share. If you shared, then that person was going to take your job because they now knew how to do what you did. Yeah. You kept that stuff very close to your chest. But he and I also, we're good soldiers. The boss says, do this. We're going to do it. So we did it. And almost immediately, I started seeing the fruit of that in people. The amount of conversations I would have with people, just a lot of that was in the early Twitter days, when it still was Twitter. And I was told to start a Twitter account by Whit to connect with other church production guys. Yeah. And I did. And the amount of feedback I would get I would tell them something simple that to me was like nothing. And I would get these messages back, oh my gosh, thank you. You have no idea how much that just changed what we do. To the point of it created a passion for that when, we could be selfish and only focus on what we're doing for our church in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or we can share this and affect ministry all over the world. That, the reason, and this is why I say, don't thank me. All of that stuff we've done up to this day as DC Pro comes out of that, something I'll share to everyone listening. I don't care if you're a customer of ours or not. I don't care if you ever spend $1 with us. If you have a question, reach out to us. Hit us over Instagram, hit me over Instagram. Our general email address, just catch-alls, info@dcprolva.com. We are a for-profit company. I have to make a profit to pay my people. I have to pay a profit to pay our lease, our rent, to grow the company, to do all the things we need to do. And we have ways we do that. But we love sharing knowledge for free because I saw what that does for the kingdom through the Seeds program, through Church on the Move.
Man, I absolutely love the heart of that. And I have seen in my conversations with you the heart of that carrying over into DC Pro. And so what can you kind of tell us about the heart of DC Pro? You know, you carry all that incredible experience with you into starting this. When did you start, and what can you tell us about kind of the heart behind DC Pro?
Yeah, funny enough, DC Pro started in 2012 as a way for me to make some side money because my wife and I were having our second kid, and we didn't exactly plan on that.
Sure.
So for all of you who've been out there before, where suddenly you're a young dad and you're realizing, oh my gosh, I've got some mouths to feed. And it wasn't called DC Pro then. It's Daniel Connell Productions. But that's literally kind of the way it started. And that's what it was up through, when I started freelance again, I started working through that. And then to go back to the part of the story where I need a team. The first people I knew how to reach out to were some of my guys who had worked with me at Church of the Move. So I reached out to two guys in particular that had been interns of ours at Church of the Move, Brian Landry and Tyler Rowland. Brian Landry was my first part-time hire. Started with me in 2019 as just a designer. He was working at Church of the Move at that time, so he'd work at Church of the Move Tuesday through Sunday, and then come work with me on Monday. And so the guy was working 7 days a week, and to this day, I think he still does that, even though I tell him not to. But and then we brought in, Tyler Rowland was my first full-time hire in January of 2020. So I'll let everybody think back a little bit about what happened in 2020, and we'll go down that rabbit trail here in a minute. The reason I'm emphasizing these guys is I had actually entertained the idea of bringing in some other people from in the industry, and when I talked to other buddies, maybe guys who had touring experience, we didn't have a shared culture, and that was the problem. Is I didn't feel that their heart was going to serve the customers I wanted to have the way I knew we should serve them. But both Tyler and Brian were a part of Church of the Move. They were a part of Seeds. They had that shared culture. They'd come from the same place. And, I really do think that was a Holy Spirit guided thing for me because I didn't have a conscious thought about that. But if I can say, if I could point to the most critical decision I've made in the history of the company, it's hiring those two guys to be a lot of the leaders because they have helped me keep this culture through all of DC Pro. We do a large variety of projects. I don't have an exact percentage, but I bet our church projects are probably only about 60% of the business we do now. We are intentional about that. We do not want to be a company that only serves churches because I feel like you get tunnel vision that way. I feel like you're not exposed to other methods, to other equipment, to other processes, to other solutions when you're just trying to do a new sanctuary every week or two. But we will always maintain that church customer base, not because of the business side of it, but because that's where my guys really feel like they get to serve. That's where they still get to grow the kingdom. And we've brought in, I always like to brag, we have 26 employees now, and I think 24 of them have worked in full-time ministry.
Man, that's incredible.
So they get it, and they understand it. They know the pros, the cons, the challenges, and really know how to lean into them.
Yeah. Wow. And they can carry that experience into the churches that they serve, which I love, that practical experience. If somebody's listening and they're not sure where to start, but they know they need some help from somebody, maybe they're searching for an integrator or they don't know that they need an integrator yet, like what would be some of your best counsel to them?
There are a lot of great integration companies in our business. I want to say that first and foremost. Some of my best friends run other integration companies. There's, you catch me on the right day, there may be some out there that I can share an opinion about that's not completely positive. But I do want to say there's a lot of great ones out there. What's important when you're picking one is, you are inviting a company in to help you determine how you're going to communicate the gospel of Jesus Christ. It may be easy to step back from that and go, no, we just need some lights and speakers and stuff. No, if that's your approach, you're already missing it. My hope would be DC Pro would always be a company that would fill that for you. But I will also say we have met churches where we just didn't mesh with the team. Maybe it was a different approach, maybe it was a shared vision. I would like to think we're one of the best integration companies out there. Doesn't mean we're always the right one for everybody. So the first and foremost, make sure you're going to enjoy working with the people that you're going to be working with, that they understand the vision of your church, they understand the story your church is trying to tell. And I want to emphasize that because what happens often with a lot of integration companies is they start taking a rinse and repeat approach.
Mm.
And guys, I'll say, sitting in this position now, that is a pitfall we have to intentionally avoid, because as you're trying to grow and as you're trying to, build systems, from a owner management standpoint, it's very tempting to go, well, let's just do what we did in the last one because that worked.
Yeah.
That we have discussions about that internally. We every few months kind of re-look at our processes to make sure we're not starting to do that, because every church has a different story, and you have to make sure who you're partnering with understands or is willing to do the due diligence to understand what your story is. Because ultimately, what production is, it's not just technical gear that we use. Our mission statement at our mission statement at DC Pro is we use art and technology to communicate the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Notice what I didn't say. I didn't say we use technology to communicate the gospel of Jesus Christ. The art is inseparable from that and how we do it. And the only way to get the art in there is to understand the story. It's the difference in one of the things I talk about a lot, and this is going to be a little bit of a tangent, so bear with me, but I feel like sometime in the past couple decades, as production started becoming popular in the church, people stepped back and looked at it and went, well, there's a drum kit, there's some guitar players, there's some singers, we're doing a concert. Nope, we're not. We're not doing a concert at all.
That's right.
A worship service is not a concert. A worship service is where we get to tell the story of the goodness of God. We get to celebrate Christ. We get to talk about his influence in our life. Well, what we're doing is telling a story. What element outside of church uses production to tell a story? It's theater. Now, I'm not saying you got to go back to using Legos and Sykes and physical sets and all the things we talk about, but the production elements you use have to be connected to the story your church is trying to tell. And if I have one big complaint about the integration and church production community as a whole, it's that far too often we're letting those things separate. So to answer your original question, just make sure that the company you're working with is in line with your church and your church's story and vision of what they want to tell.
Man, I love that. I love that. What's the best way, again, for people to connect with you and DC Pro?
Honestly, probably social media is going to be the fastest, easiest way. It feels like that's where it's starting to become too. On Instagram, I'm just Daniel Connell, Daniel Connell. Feel free to reach out to me. We are DC Pro LVA on Instagram as well. Very easy to find on there. We share a lot of, I think I actually told you this the other day, Brian. I feel like our website's about 4 years behind. But our Instagram is up to date to the day.
Yeah,
so we share a lot of our projects, stuff we're doing. So if you want to check us out, you want to see some of the things we've done, some of what we're doing, our Instagram account is definitely the best place to go to. Outside of that, you can get us on Facebook. Website is dcprolva.com, info at dcprolva.com. Google us, all the things. That's we do have a phone number. I'm not going to share it on here because nobody will remember it, but Google dcprolva.com and it'll bring you right to us.
Love that. I love that. And we'll tag them up in the description on the episode, so you know exactly how to get in touch with them. And we're cheering you guys on, man. We're big fans and love the work you do, obviously, but the heart that has been crystal clear in every conversation we've had, and we've had a bunch of them. And so I am really, really thankful for you and the heart of the heart that you approach everything you do with.
Man, we love getting to be a part of this community. And, when DC Pro kind of started, because of my experience in the industry, my reputation, maybe some of the stuff I've gotten to do, a lot of our first clients were some really big clients. We work with Bethel. We work with Central Church out in Vegas. We work with, of course, Church of the Move here in Tulsa is a client of ours now for obvious reasons. We worked with Transformation Church. A lot of large ministries like that. And I love those. And I think that most of them do great work. And it's always a privilege to get to work with them. But over the years, I've really found that that's not what I feel like our mission is. I think a lot of your guests, the people listening to your this podcast and following this are the churches where maybe there isn't a production team, or it's all run under the worship leader and there's a part-time production guy. I will always be honored to work with the big ministries, but guys, the ones I want to work with now are those guys, because that's where I feel like we can have the biggest impact just on the kingdom. So I want to, I want to throw that in there, because if you're hearing a lot of this and you're hearing about some of the stuff we've done in the past, and you're have any thought of going, well, I'm too small of a fish. No, I have built layers in this company where we have people and teams that are structured just to address the needs of ministries like that. So reach out to us, call us. Love to get you connected with those parts of the team. And yeah,
I love that. I love that so much. And we're just thrilled to welcome you into the family. So absolutely, we're glad you're here. So guys, if you're listening, we're going to get to the big room question here in just a second, but make sure you go follow them. It's DC Pro LVA on the socials, and then at Daniel Connell on the socials as well. And you can hit the link in our bio. That'll take you to the DC Pro website. You can discover all the incredible ways that DC Pro can help empower your production teams to tell that story. And we have the most compelling story in the history of the world to tell, and they want to help you tell that in the most powerful, effective way that you can. So, okay, Daniel. So we always end our conversations with the big room question. So if we gathered all the worship leaders and all their volunteers and all the production leaders and all their volunteers, and we got them all together in one big room, and we handed you a microphone, what would you feel compelled to say to them about what we do in the local church?
I was having a conversation with a very close friend this past weekend, and he said something that stuck with me. And as soon as you started telling that, this immediately kind of came back to mind. But he made a statement to me, and we were talking about some challenges in the church market. He works in this market as well, and love him because he's not part of my inner team, but he's part of my external team, and has a very shared passion for the church in this regard. And he made this statement, and it was, there's a very fine line between serving and toiling. I actually, weirdly enough, I've been playing with AI lately, and I had Grok compare those two words to me, and I won't dig it back up now, but it's fascinating. So if you're inclined, anybody out there, I would encourage you to do that. But here's what that really means to me. I talk with a lot of leaders and pastors, and very often the conversations steer towards equipment. Guys, equipment's important. There's good equipment. There's stuff that's not as good. I will say this. I think a lot of times people that maybe want to say a piece of equipment isn't good, it's really, maybe it's not good for that situation. Maybe you're using it in an environment or a way it shouldn't. But regardless, I don't think that's the important part of the conversation. The important part of the conversation is our people. You can have the best equipment in the world and the wrong people, and it's not going to work out the way you want. And I feel like far too often in the church production community, we're putting the emphasis on the equipment and on the systems, and not on the teams we're having run it. I didn't become a good lighting designer and production designer because I had every tool I needed. It was exactly the opposite. I became a good one because I didn't have enough of the right tools, didn't have enough time, didn't have enough of anything. But I learned how to work with that. Onto the serving and the toiling. During my time at Church on the Move, there were seasons of both. And I don't think anyone can say you exist in one side of that all the time. Yeah. But the majority was absolutely serving. And that's why you hear me saying the things I'm saying today. You hear me building the company the way I'm building, with the focuses I'm building it on, is because I saw the fruit of serving. By being an employee at Church on the Move and sitting in that seat for all those years, I was taught the benefits of serving. I got to live out the biblical, element of sowing and reaping, and seeing how that worked. And what that did, it made me a disciple for Christ. Did I believe in Christ before? Sure. But it converted me into a disciple. Well, no matter what denomination you are, and again, I'm no theologian here, so please give me grace in everything I'm about to say, but what is our main commandment we're supposed to do? Go forth and make disciples of all nations. That starts at home. So if you have a production team that is toiling behind the scenes to get things done, you're not creating disciples. You're just creating doers who are eventually going to burn out and move on to something else. Some of you listening right now are probably hearing that and going, Daniel, you're right, but I don't have those people. I can't find them. They're not here, at least not the ones that can run the equipment the way I need to. So I have to go with these guys that aren't disciples. And my response to you would be, no, you don't.
Mm.
No church out there requires production to communicate the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's an addition. It's a benefit. It's a luxury. We can communicate the gospel without air conditioning in our churches, but we put it in there so that people will be able to focus on that, not the fact that they're sweating like crazy as they're trying to listen.
Mhm.
Production is the same thing. It is something, I hear people say a lot, I don't want production in my church because God doesn't need production. You are absolutely right. God doesn't need production. We do, because it helps break through that natural. It's the same way of when you're at a play and they're telling you a story. It's the scenery and the lighting and the sound and all the elements that set the tone and the mood for what you're hearing that pull you into it and make it believable. Well, I'm not saying that's the exact approach with church, but if a guy has had a horrible morning, maybe his wife's been dragging him to church and he doesn't want to actually be there, but we're able to kind of break through that crust a little bit with the way we communicate the story we're telling. Well, then that's what production's for. But you can have a big open room with a platform for your pastor to speak on, and as long as everyone in the room can hear it, that's all that's required. It doesn't have to be immersive audio. It doesn't have to be the newest, latest, greatest moving lights. And if you don't have the people that have the heart to use those tools to tell the story of your church, then you shouldn't have them. And I say that as a guy who has made my living using, designing, now selling and renting these things. And hear it from me as plainly as I can say it. If it is not going to help your church bring people to Christ, I don't want you to do business with me.
Man, that's it. That's it. That's the foundation. And man, I will say this, whether you were a sponsor or not, that comes through loud and clear in every conversation. And I absolutely love that. I love that answer, and I hope you take that to heart if you're listening. And again, go follow at DC Pro LVA on the socials and at Daniel Connell on the socials. Hit them through the link in our bio. Discover all the ways that DC Pro can help you communicate the gospel through your services. Daniel, welcome to the family, man. I'm so glad to count you as a friend, and we're thrilled that you are a part of the family.
Well, thanks, Brian. We are honored to be here. Looking forward to it.
Man, I love that guy. And I love his heart for the Lord, his heart for the local church, and his heart to get it done right, man. I love that. I absolutely love that. If you need an AVL integrator, you need somebody to help you build a new sanctuary, or you're renovating, or you need to upgrade, or you just need to talk, you need to somebody to advise you, reach out to DC Pro LVA through the link in our bio. And I know that they will be honored to help you, and they'll do an incredible job for you. Well, as always, we're thrilled that you stop by and spend a couple of moments with us. Absolutely love that you do that. Please, wherever you're listening, on whatever, there's a million podcast platforms. Wherever you're listening, hit subscribe or follow or whatever the button is called on your platform. That way, every Tuesday morning, we're right there waiting for you like a really fresh, hot cup of coffee. There's a lot of good stuff coming too. So do that for us, and make sure if you would, go to Apple, give us 5 stars and a nice review. Thanks too for engaging with us on all of the socials. We are at Worship Probs on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Threads. We are at Worship Leader Probs, our old name, over on TikTok. You can also join the Worship Probs community group on Facebook. We've had a huge influx of people over there, and it's leaders helping leaders. It's different content than our other platforms. So we would love to have you join us over there. There are 3 super simple questions to get into the group. Helps me keep the spammers out. Please answer the questions. If you don't, I have to deny you, and that always hurts my heart, because I would love to have you all in there. So join us over there. And on X, you can look for the hashtag Worship Leader Probs. Well, our friends at Maven Media Productions, I'm just the biggest Maven fan there ever was or ever will be. They're doing an outstanding job for us. They edit our podcast. They create anything that looks good on our channel. They did it. I promise you that. So if you need some help at your church or your business, you got a secular business, maybe some kind of side hustle. You need somebody to help you with social media or logos or branding or somebody to consult. Maven Media Productions. They'll do the job right and they'll do a great one for you. There's a link in our bio that'll take you right to the Maven site, or you can just dial up mavenmediaproductions.com on the old internet, and it'll take you to their site. Tell them we sent you, and I know they will crush it for you. Well, guys, we love you. Thank you so much for listening today. Thank you so much for listening every week, man. We love that you do that. And we're so glad that you spent some time here today with me on episode 348. Until next time, deuces.